Hello, Penn Staters, and welcome to the Football Letter Podcast. This week, we welcome Brandon Bell, Penn State Letterman linebacker and a Big Ten champion who wore the iconic number 11 for the Nittany Lions. Brandon is a 2016 Penn State grad from the Donald P. Bellisario College of Communications. After starring at Penn State, Brandon played in the NFL for 4+ seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's now a rising star in the media industry, working in New York City. He's had full-time roles both with NFL Films and with the NBA. We're going to catch up with Brandon, ask him how his transition has gone from Penn State to the NFL, now working in media, and share some stories. And this is going to be a really good opportunity, and we're going to enjoy catching up with Big Ten champion Brandon Bell. Brandon, welcome to the Football Letter Podcast, sir. We're thrilled that you're joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, as I mentioned in the intro, you are now a rising star in the media industry, working in New York City, having had a previous role with NFL Films as a production assistant. You're now a broadcast assistant with the NBA. I was wondering if maybe we could start and you could catch up fans and alumni with just what you're doing nowadays and maybe how you got into that area of media storytelling and how that passion grew for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, thank you for the kind words. That's kind of the journey I'm on now, as you said, rising star. Kind of like the sound of that. But, I kind of, after football, kind of phased out for me through the COVID year, kind of set back and obviously reevaluated, what path I wanted to continue on. And media and video production always has kind of been my, second passion. Even in high school, I remember being part of the media program, still cool with the teacher we had then who taught us a lot. And that's kind of where it started, just messing around with my friends, back when YouTube was kind of fresh and new. And so it always kind of been an interest of mine. And as I said, once football kind of phased out, I had a government job and it wasn't too much fun. So I kind of relied back on my networking sources and kind of reached out and got my foot in the door with NFL Films, working with the NFL Matchup Show. And that's where I was the previous 2 years. Greg Cosell, Darius Butler, Matt Bowen with the ESPN guys. And it was very natural for me, just talking ball, breaking down tape, which I was very accustomed to. And then from there, I kind of adapted. As you're in the NFL Films office, the history, the storytelling, it's only right that you kind of, broaden your wings to that. So that's where I kind of learned a lot from those producers, directors. My girlfriend, my lovely girlfriend, she's a director for NFL Films. She's a big shot there. I always tell her. So really just learned a lot, just being a sponge in this new industry of mine. And I kind of took that same approach now with the NBA, just kind of learning the broadcast aspect of it, the live sports broadcasting. And it's all been a fun experience so far. I'm just soaking it all in and ready to kind of build my own plan because that's what I like to do, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Brandon. How did playing football at such a high level, both at Penn State and in the NFL, were there ways that experience helped you as you then transitioned to the other side of the camera because maybe you could relate to the players in a way that maybe other folks couldn't?
For sure. Definitely, you know what they're talking about, you know what they're going through, been in their shoes for the most part. And I think it just comes natural, you're just talking to a peer more so than, I know we call it talent. You're talking to the talent on this side, but I see it as just talking to a peer, friend, or whoever it may be. So it definitely comes a little natural, and I'm just ready to expound on that more.
Anytime I hear about NFL Films, I think about Shannon Furman, Penn State grad, doing really high level things at NFL Films. I'm not sure if you crossed paths with her, but how often did you work with her directly, or maybe just meet Penn Staters, in the media industry, working at both NFL Films and the NBA?
Oh, for sure. I definitely know Shannon. I don't think we've worked on anything specifically together. I was supposed to be on Hey Rookie when I came out of Penn State, but it didn't work out. And she kind of always reminds me I kind of backed out on her, but that's just a little rift between her and I. But yeah, she's great. I remember meeting her back when I was fresh at Penn State, and she kind of introduced me to NFL Films. I had no clue, being from South Jersey, that it was like right there. I grew up watching everything from there. I was a football junkie as a kid, so that definitely comes where some of the storytelling comes from for me. I didn't know it was right there, and she kind of brought that upon us, or me, and then wound up seeing her at Penn State for games and pro days and building a relationship. And then it all came full circle when I started working there. My girlfriend knows her. They work together hand in hand. They're right down the block at Hard Knocks with the Jets right now. doing great things. That should be an exciting hard knock season this year. Shannon's been a great role model for many, not just myself, Penn State alumni and others. And then as I've been venturing out, there's so many Penn State alumni. I mean, it's what they talk about when you're being recruited, one of the strongest alumni networks. And it is very much true. You may not know what that means as an 18-year-old kid, but as I was just speaking to a few Penn State football players, they were on a journey through New York, seeing this alumni base in New York City at these fine companies and establishments. This is when you're 25 and you're figuring out where you want to go. That's the important part. Who do you know? Who can, lend a hand, help get your foot in the door, wherever it may be, so you can, apply all the football competitiveness and everything, all the great attributes you learn from football, and put it into maybe the corporate world, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brandon. So we're recording here. We're talking here in July, late July. Brandon's referencing a couple dozen Penn State football players, current players. They went to New York, went to the NBA headquarters, went to Stripes, an investing firm, I believe, run by a Penn State grad, but just basically spending the day networking in New York City. And that was, you kind of read my mind, Brandon, with the next question, transitioning to that. The alumni network, the passionate support of Penn Staters, how much of that was something that you appreciated during your days at Penn State?
Definitely. I mean, you feel it. Any player, whether you're walking on campus to class, downtown, and obviously on game day, it's that same feeling of just, they're there to support you. The fans, friends, family members, classmates, roommates, whatever it may be, they're there to support you. And it's the same thing as when you walk off the field and you're done at State College, whether you're in New York or California, Texas. The alumni is everywhere. Just wear a Penn State hat at an airport around the country, and I'm sure you'll get some conversation. And you never know who those people could be.
As a Nittany Lion, during your time on campus, playing for the team, going to classes, having that full student-athlete experience, in what ways did you grow as a person and as a player during your time at Penn State?
Definitely. I mean, you come in as a 17, 18-year-old kid, and I was blessed to have some great upperclassmen, to kind of observe and take after, and even the coaching staff. I appreciate Bill O'Brien and that coaching staff just as much as I appreciate Coach Franklin and the coaching staff I had that kind of definitely matured me more, and just really listening to all their lessons. I mean, they're essentially your parents for 4-5 years while you're away from home. Obviously take care of yourself, but they're definitely giving you guidance. And something my dad always said is like, I'm not going to steer you wrong. And I think that's the same case with coaches and strength staff and everyone there at Penn State. They're not going to give you any advice that's going to steer you wrong. That doesn't benefit anyone, doesn't benefit them, doesn't benefit the program. So I think just taking all that in and just taking it one day at a time and trying to improve in whatever it may be, physically, mentally, class. The tutors are definitely in that regard. Todd Kolka has been a staple there at Penn State. Got to give him a lot of credit in that maturing stage process. He's helping guys out. He's chasing guys down, getting them in the right programs, the right courses, and that whole staff. That's definitely a big part of it too.
Yeah, Todd Kolka, big shout out to Todd. He had so many lettermen come on and mention, just unprompted on their own, just mention Todd and kind of the impact that he has with players. You're listening to the Football Letter Podcast. We are speaking with Brandon Bell, Penn State letterman linebacker, Big Ten champion. Let's talk about that Big Ten championship season 2016. We've talked with a numerous lettermen about this. 2-2, the team rails off 9 straight wins, goes to Indianapolis, wins the Big Ten title. And when you were talking about this with Parrish, you talked about the leadership of that team. Obviously talent's a big thing, and you rightly so included yourself in the leadership of that 2016 squad. Let's get your perspective on this. Just how important was the leadership of that team, kind of the perspective of that team coming back from Michigan saying, look, we're in this, we can do this. And then in fact, you did do this, ending the regular season in Indianapolis with the Big Ten title.
Yeah, man, that was a magical season. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. We started off 2-2, very rocky, some very rocky losses. And I think that's when the leadership, you really saw it at its full potential, I'll say. Because the season could have went very much downhill. We had a ton of injuries. And just, confidence was never really weary, never lacking. But obviously you lose those 2 games and games that we felt like we should have won. It definitely hurts a little bit, but I think that leadership, the conversations we had amongst the whole team also, I'm not just the, quote unquote leaders. I think it takes the whole team to be receptive to everything that everyone's saying as well. And obviously, ripping off those 9 straight undefeated at home is something I hold dear to my heart. I think that's where the leadership stuck out the most. And it was so many guys. I mean, I included myself, the leadership program we had, the seniors, the captains, but it was young guys too. Just, everyone holding their weight, pulling the ship in the same direction. And I think that's what every team, that's what you want out of every season, every team, every year.
I'm going to mention one of your teammates one of your teammates at Penn State, who I think is one of the great what if questions. What if he stayed healthy? Naeem Wortman-White.
Mm-hmm.
I know internally, like in the locker room, you guys know how much he meant to that program. Maybe, and I'm sure a lot of fans do too, but I feel like, I understand he spoke up a couple times during the season. What did Naeem mean to that team, even though he wasn't playing?
Yeah, Naeem was a big time. That's one of those guys I said, one of the upperclassmen when I came in, that was easy to follow as far as his guidance. And I always said I give him a lot of credit because he was the first person early in the spring or summer that brought up even just winning Big Ten champion. Well, why can't we say that? He said, why can't we talk about it? Let's not be afraid to talk about it. Let's manifest it. Let's put it on the big board. Let's do all that. And that was the first time in my career at Penn State that it was ever, like, success was ever outright spoken amongst the team. Obviously we always want to win every game, but there was never a goal kind of set big picture. And to his credit, I'll tell it every time, he was the first one that did that. And we kind of carried that through the summer workouts, the winter workouts. And that was kind of the thing. So at the end of the day, people were complaining, this and that. Hey, what did we say we wanted to do? Boom, Big Ten. And I give him a whole lot of credit. And he kept that message all throughout the season, even as he was banged up, which obviously was hurtful to him and guys like myself. And he was a pivotal leader for that team.
And then the team after Indy goes out to Pasadena to the Rose Bowl. I believe, and I think many Penn Staters believe, Penn State and USC, you were the 2 best teams in the country at that time. It was the most competitive game. If folks remember, the 2 playoff games were kind of a wash. And I think even a lot of people acknowledged you were both, I'll just say it, you guys were the 2 best teams in the country at that time. Going out to Pasadena, having the opportunity to play on that stage in such an iconic game. I mean, people widely refer to that as one of the 2 or 3 best Rose Bowls ever. What do you remember about what it was like to be on that stage?
Man, it was a dream come true, a granddaddy of them all, as we know it. Just the whole week, being in California, LA, we're staying in a nice hotel. The weather was beautiful. I think morale was at an all-time high at that point. Obviously, coming off the nine wins, Big Ten, still riding that high, but we were still grinding, and we were prepared, man. That was the beautiful thing about it to me. We were having fun. We were prepared. We're in LA, as a young kid, it can't get any better than that. Getting ready to play in one of the best arenas around. And obviously we came up a little short, but man, that was a beautiful experience regardless to me.
So both Vince, our producer, and I were at the game, and I remember this. I'll never forget this. You get the interception. I believe it was the 3rd quarter. You almost bring it back for a touchdown. I think it was about the 3-yard line. And unfortunately, you ended up leaving the field with an injury. But I was right behind that end zone, and I remember watching you walk off the field. You gave a thumbs up to the entire stadium. I was going to say, maybe take us through that play, getting the interception. Did you think obviously you take it back to the 3-yard line. How badly did you want to score? And then, let's just start there for starters.
Yeah, I think we came out of second half, and it wasn't the best first half for us, which was somewhat of a theme that year, but defense specifically wasn't our best first half. And I remember we were just talking like, we're right there. We just got to hustle. We got to get to the ball, everything, and the good things will happen. And that was the kind of mindset that I took. So on that play, I think it was a simple hitch. Christian Campbell was had great coverage right on top, got his arm in there, batted it up. And I think I somewhat stole it from him, but I was just hustling to the ball, see ball, get ball, grabbed it, and man, I wanted to get in the end zone. That would have been beautiful. If I got in the end zone, I probably wouldn't have got hurt, maybe. But Sam Darnold got my legs, and I tried to brace my fall, reach the ball out, dislocated my elbow. So that was a tough one. And as you said, walking off, I knew I wasn't that crushed because I knew I literally was giving it my all. And that's one of the big things as an athlete in general. If you're comfortable with, you look yourself in the mirror and know you gave it your all, there's really nothing to look back and kind of sulk on. Obviously, we would have won. The night would have been a little better. Maybe my arm wouldn't have hurt as much, but it was a beautiful moment, and I don't regret anything.
And I don't blame you. I mean, there are far worse ways to go out than playing in the Rose Bowl, getting a pick. Yeah, to your point, that was a theme for that year, coming back in the second half, resiliency, overcoming adversity. USC, I believe, held a 6-point halftime lead, and that interception really turned things around. Penn State, you outscored USC by 20 in the third quarter. Kind of to maybe wrap up this part of the conversation, did you feel like when you graduated from Penn State that you had maximized your time here, that you had achieved, if not all of your goals, most of your goals, and that, maybe there was a sense of satisfaction that you were leaving as a Big Ten champion?
Oh, for sure. 100%. I mean, for me personally, that was the first championship that I was a part of. High school, Little League, as far as winning a championship. I had been to a few championships, and obviously not on that stage, but as a competitor, they're all the same. I mean, Little League, high school, and never was able to close it out. So that was the first time for me, and to do it with that squad, the way that year had panned out, I mean, it literally prepares you for life, because we went through every single emotion, every single kind of trial and tribulation that season. And I can say that for my career at Penn State as well. When I came in, it was not a beautiful time in Penn State culture, or whatever you want to call it. And I remember my dad was a big part of that, just as far as preaching to me, what do you want out of this? And I look back and I saw everything that I wanted, I still could achieve, even though we were at, some slight disadvantages at that time. And I thought, hey, I want to still get a great education. I want to play in front of 100,000 or more than 100,000 nationally televised, which was big to me coming from a small town in New Jersey. My dad believed that I'd still get bowl games. I didn't necessarily believe it at the time, but he was right. And once the Alumni Network, I'd graduate from a prestigious college organization, I think I still believed I could get that, and I did achieve that. So I really kind of checked every box.
You mentioned playing in front of more than 100,000 fans. What was that experience like? What was playing at Beaver Stadium like for you?
Oh, man, that's what gets you. I mean, if you're any person like me, I've talked to a few players, younger guys, that kind of just come alive when the lights are on, and there's no brighter lights than in that stadium right there. I mean, I was as a recruit, I went to the games, and you feel it, you see it, but you're sitting up top. It's not exactly the same. When you got those pads on and you're walking out that gate, it's nothing like it. And then you're on the field when you're actually, playing and you're running, you're not even necessarily thinking about the crowd, but you still feel it. You hear them, obviously. For a player like me, like I said, I came from a small town, small high school, where I can easily say in New Jersey, my part of New Jersey, football wasn't the biggest deal. It wasn't like North Jersey, where I'm at now, where these towns kind of shut down and it's all about Friday night lights or Saturday. So when I got up there, I said, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I'm living for. And there's nothing like it, hands down. I'm biased, but you hear other guys, Herb Street, which is an Ohio State guy, as we know, he talks about it nonstop. I mean, it's a beautiful scene.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, obviously we're biased here for good reasons. Yeah, Kirk Herbstreit he's given Penn State a lot of dap over the years. I think he's like a borderline Penn State fan.
I gotta be. I think we'll miss him this season, but he's big on Penn State.
Hey, Brandon, let's touch on your time in the NFL. Going from Penn State to the NFL, what was that transition like for you in terms of what lessons did you learn at Penn State, whether it was, on the field preparation, off the field, going to classes? How prepared did you feel you were going from Penn State to the NFL?
Yeah, I'd say my football career prepared me for it's all about like trust. And I tell young guys this too. Obviously, we all feel like we're ready. We should be out there. We should be the guy. But it's all depends on how much the coaches trust you to be out there and fulfill the plan, execute the plan. I think I learned that my Penn State career. That's kind of how I got on the field. I had to attain that trust. And then going to NFL is the same thing. I mean, I felt a little bit at a disadvantage coming off that injury we were just talking about. That was tough for me. Kind of, ending my career with another injury. I had a good handful. And just kind of getting my body prepared was a little behind for myself getting into the NFL. But I was blessed to have an opportunity with the Bengals, went undrafted, went on the camp. And I didn't quite feel 100%. Like I said, I was lacking a little strength in my arm. But I still went out there, did what I had to do. They liked me enough, kept me around, practice squad. And I was able that first year to get on the field, play a little bit, and kind of build off of that.
Yeah, and by the way, making the roster in the NFL for 4 seasons, that's no small feat. That's big time. So, I just wanted to take a moment and say that, Brandon.
No, thank you.
Let's just kind of a couple quick hit questions for you. How often do you get back to campus, and when you are back, what are maybe one or two of the favorite spots that you like to hit?
For sure. I mean, last season I wasn't able to get up there at all. I was very disappointed, but my schedule was a little tough. Did not make a game. That was the first time I didn't make at least one game since I've been out. But I've been back around. They had the alumni weekend and this past summer in June. That was a great time. Kind of champs downtown is kind of the go-to spot where they have all these functions now. Everything looks totally different to me. There's high rises. It's pretty cool. The Cafe 210, that's a go-to spot. I hope that stays for a while. And then besides that, I mean, obviously the stadium, guys, regardless of when I come, whether it's in season, obviously I'm going to a game. It's the summer. I got to go by the stadium, and they always grant access, let you walk out there, go in the locker room. I was able to show my family 2 years ago at the alumni weekend. To let the kids run around there. So it's a family atmosphere, and those are the go-to spots.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you try to get into the stadium and someone comes up to you, just show them the Big Ten championship ring. Like that should be automatic access. Hey, so we haven't had a chance to ask this question yet for Letterman on the show, so we'll ask you favorite sports movie, football or otherwise.
Off the top of my head, I'm kind of a movie buff junkie, so it's hard for me to pick a favorite out of anything. But top of my head, I'll go Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights, and I'll go Longest Yard, the Adam Sandler one, just because that's a little comedy. I love comedy, love to laugh. And then Friday Night Lights, I feel like when that came out, that was the epitome of football at the time. High school football, and that was in Texas, so it was a little different, but high school football, seeing those guys, put their heart out there, that was a great film.
All right, appreciate your time here, Brandon. Just a couple questions to wrap up then. If you can complete the sentence in, 3 years, 5 years, Brandon Bell will be doing blank.
And 3 to 5 years, Brandon Bell will be producing his own films, and in sports definitely, and maybe in other things, just regular comedy, television, he'll be producing them.
Well, that's the perfect segue to the final question that we're going to get you out here on. So Brandon last year talked with Paris Palmer, teammate at Penn State. Very much like yourself, Paris is doing great things in media back here working at Penn State. And you talked with Paris about this quote from poet and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson, which was, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." What speaks to you and inspires you about those words?
Man, I think I read that in high school, and it just stuck with me forever. And it kind of has epitomized my life since then. as we just spoke about, I mean, just my journey to Penn State and then my journey at Penn State, along with the group of guys I came with, was not prototypical. And I think that's what I love about life. It's do as you please. And I'm definitely not a follower. That was a big thing that was preached to me as a kid. So go where there's no path and leave a trail. Do your own thing and just keep moving forward. And I think good things will happen for you. And you spark a trail that others may follow, or be inspired by, to do what they're destined to do, what they believe they should be doing. And I think that's just been epitome of my life so far.
Well, we've been speaking with Big Ten champion Brandon Bell. Brandon, we cheered you on when you were playing for Penn State. We've been following your career and rooting you on both in the NFL and now in the media industry. Thank you so much for your time this week, Brandon.
Appreciate you guys.
Hey Penn Staters, I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, and we are once again starting our Big Ten season off on the road here in Champaign, Illinois for our Big Ten matchup against the University of Illinois. We are out here with Penn Staters at the first stop of the Roar Tour. We have almost 600 Penn Staters signed up to come out here today. Band is here, cheerleaders are here, Lionette, the mascot, and the 83rd president of the Penn State Alumni Association, Anand Ganjam. Anand, you've been in town now. You had the chance to walk on campus. What are some of your impressions of being on the road with Penn State?
The first thing I think about is when we ask, why do I love Penn State? This is what it's all about. We're here in Champaign. Last night we had a great mixer with the Indiana chapter. They had about 100 folks out here. We're expecting 600 folks out tonight. Wherever we go, Penn Staters show up, and that's why I love this university so much.
So I mentioned, Anand, you're the 83rd president of the Alumni Association. You have this opportunity to represent one of the strongest, one of the biggest alumni populations of any university in the country. What does it mean to you to go on the road at events like the Roar Tour and represent all fellow Penn Staters?
I mean, it means the entire world to me. One of the many things I love about Penn State is the fact that it's a lifelong experience. And when you graduate Penn State, we're committed to making sure that you have opportunities over the course of your lifetime to connect with Penn Staters and have meaningful experiences. And that's what I want to spread the word about. I want to get out there, get young alums, get alums of all ages involved, because we have 174,000 members, which we're really proud of, but we have many more alums that we want to bring into the community. So this is a great opportunity to do that and to celebrate with our amazing members too.
Thank you, Coach. Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice job. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you.
Hello, Penn Staters, and welcome to the Football Letter Podcast. This week, we welcome Chad Washington. Chad is a 1998 Penn State graduate from the Donald P. Bellisario College of Communications. Chad wrote for the Collegian when he was in school. Chad is a standout volunteer leader for the Alumni Association. He is the chapter president of our Houston chapter, very active chapter, lots of things going on in Houston. We're going to talk with Chad about how the Houston chapter connects alumni year-round, a little bit about Chad's background, how Penn State became the school for him, and how he and the Houston chapter really leverage football to rally and unite Penn Staters at the Houston chapter. And so, Chad Washington, we're so thrilled that you're making time for us this week on the Football Letter Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, John. Thanks for having me on.
So Chad, Chad and I were Twitter friends. Like, we knew each other online, and then I finally got to meet Chad this summer on campus at the ALC conference. And so, Chad, it took a long time to finally meet you, and now here we are talking again. Really looking forward to the conversation here.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure meeting you, and in real life, we've been talking on Twitter and everything about Penn State and Penn State football, Penn State everything. So it's an honor to finally talk with you and meet with you now and get a chance to talk digitally again.
Yeah, talking more Penn State today. I thought maybe a good place to start would be if you want to maybe give a quick overview of the Houston chapter, some of the priorities for your chapter, some of the main things that you do throughout the year to keep Penn Staters connected.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously, Houston's a very big city, obviously the fourth largest city in the U.S. But you know, there's still a good number of Penn Staters. I mean, in Texas, there's about what 14,000, over 14,000 Penn Staters in the state of Texas. In the city of Houston, we have about over 4,000 Penn Staters in the Houston area. Of our members, we have about 1,200 members of our chapter there. So we have a good number, and it's easy. It's tough to get engaged sometimes. Some people move in, some people move out, but we really do a great job of getting them engaged in a lot of things. Obviously, the football watch parties are the important thing, but we have great other events like golf tournaments. We have, thon walks. We go to Houston Astros games. We do a lot of things, happy hours as well. So we have a lot of great events to get our Penn Staters involved. And Houston's a wonderful city to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things to do in Houston. So we try to participate with that, whether it's going to the, Museum of Fine Arts Houston or going to the theater, regardless, so many things to do. And that's what we try and do for anything, and I think we do a good job. I came on, I'm more the social media person. So I came on as more the communications chair. So I'm the person running the Facebook, the Twitter or X page as it is now. So I'm trying to find ways to engage with everybody, trying to find ways to engage with all the Penn Staters, not just in the Houston area, but all of Penn State, just telling everybody, hey, this is what's going on here in Houston. This is what we got going on here. So that's what I try and do.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much a well-rounded effort in Houston, as you alluded to, Chatter, as you mentioned, football watch parties. There are a lot of other things going on throughout the year. And so whether you're interested in football, whether you're interested in gathering with Penn Staters at an event somewhere or fundraising for Thon, a lot of things happening in Houston. Of course, we are coming up on the football season. By the time this runs, we will be in the football season. How does the Houston chapter leverage football to connect and unite Penn Staters in Houston?
Yeah, obviously our football watch parties are very fun. And first off, it's our facility. We have a great restaurant that's called the Phoenix on Westheimer. For those in the city, it's more of like in between the River Oaks and Montrose area off of Westheimer Road. And, I give credit to the owner of the restaurant, Vu Trong, who's done a wonderful job accommodating us. We've been using that restaurant since 2016. And it's a soccer bar in its original form. It hosts it hosts a lot of soccer matches. Obviously, it has a lot of fans from different soccer teams. Man City, Celtic in the Scottish League. I believe there's a lot of FC Barcelona people that also go to those to watch the soccer matches there. But Vu does a wonderful job when Penn State's playing. He does a wonderful job to accommodate us. We bring in about, on the average game, about 50 people. I'm not lying. It's like, for a night game, we're going to bring in about a lot of people because a lot of people do enjoy what we do with our watch parties. And, and if it's an Ohio State or Michigan game, it's going to be pretty crowded. I mean, we've had plenty of watch parties where it even clashes sometimes with a lot of different events. Sometimes it clashes with the soccer matches. Sometimes it even clashes with the Astros playoff game. We've had a couple of games where we're clashing when the Astros are playing the Yankees in the ALCS, and we're still half the parties outside watching the Astros, and we're inside taking over the bar watching Penn State play Michigan in the whiteout game. But I think the one thing that keeps us engaged is what we do is we try as a group, and I would say that as a chapter as well, to bring as much of Beaver Stadium to the watch party. And now you say, how do you do that? Well, the Phoenix has a great speaker system, first off, and it allows me to, I break out my phone. I have a lot of Penn State Blue Band music on my phone, and I could, in fact, I don't even on my tablet right here, and I could just play any kind of thing. I could play, okay, Penn State gets a first down or whatever. Hold on a second. All right, let's just say, okay, Drew Allard throws for a first down, Penn State. There you go. First little lion roar. So it's something like that. I just do that occasionally just to get the crowd going. I play Zombie Nation when they do something really big and it gets the crowd going. I got the cowbell, so I do that. And so it's that. And also we have a great halftime raffle. We give away T-shirts. We give away grilled stickies. We do a lot of things. We also sell merchandise as well. So if you don't have any, obviously in Houston, it's very hard to get Penn State T-shirts and Penn State gear. So we sell them as well. So we do a lot of things to try and bring a lot of the experience that you get up in Happy Valley down here to Houston.
That sounds so great, Chad. Thank you for sharing. And I think that story really is a great example of how when you're a chapter president, you're a DJ, you're a relationship builder, you're kind of like what the situation calls for. And so, just shout out to you and chapter presidents, when you're talking about the watch parties, building those relationships with the business owners, making sure that, you have a dependable, consistent place for Penn Staters to gather. You're a Penn State grad on a personal level. When you're at these watch parties and you see other alumni connecting with one another, you see them coming together. I got to imagine that there are a lot of stories being shared. What's that like for you on a personal level, being able to connect Penn Staters with one another?
It's great, because we have a lot of Penn Staters from different backgrounds, and we just really just get along because, and it's different for me because I'm a native Houstonian. I grew up here. I don't have any Pennsylvania ties, but, talking with people who are from Pennsylvania, or maybe who roots are from New York or New Jersey, or from Maryland. It's just awesome. And it's just great to talk with them and chat with them either about Penn State football or just going back to campus, what they miss about campus. It's just awesome. And the kind of people that we talk about, I haven't talked about one of our past presidents is Anwar Phillips, who's part of the 2005 Penn State football team, starting quarterback there that won the Orange Bowl. He's a great person that really helped me out, with the chapter. And he's another person that comes to the watch parties, and people love talking to him about how the football team's looking about it and everything. And, we have such a great, I just love the people that come to our watch parties. They're so enthusiastic. Nobody's never down. If we're losing, everybody's ready to pump up. Nobody's never down in the program. Nobody talks bad about the team. They're ready just to keep going and just rooting as hard as we can. And we just have fun. We have fun in every kind of way, regardless if we're going to the Astros game, regardless if we're obviously showing photos of our senior send-off. We just have fun and we just get along so great. And that's the best thing that shows about Penn Staters. No matter where we are, what kind of background you come from, we always find a way to get along, and we just have fun together. And that's just the best thing about doing what we're doing. And same thing with our watch parties. It's just awesome.
Great to hear that perspective from Chad Washington in Houston. You are listening to the Football Letter podcast. So Chad, shout out first of all to Anwar Phillips. You mentioned him, starting cornerback, Penn State letterman, previous president of the Houston chapter, still involved with the chapter. I know that Mike Gesicki has attended chapter watch parties in New Jersey before. So if you needed another reason to attend a Penn State football watch party, chances are you might run into a Penn State football letterman. And so, get out there, join a local chapter. And along those lines, Chad, for you, why should Penn Staters get involved with the local chapter, whether it's in Houston, Florida, California, or somewhere else? What's the benefit to them, do you think?
I just think the benefit is, in my case, for somebody who doesn't really get a chance to go back to State College a lot, it gives you a chance to get a taste of being back there, just to meet with people. And, I can't, getting back there from Houston's a little bit is not easy. So, this is a chance just to meet with Penn Staters, talk about campus. You don't get a chance to do that a whole lot depending on where you live, So, it works two ways too. Number one, it's networking. You don't know how many Penn Staters are in a certain area. until you go out and meet them in this chapter, in your chapters, and you see who they are. And don't know. They could be closer than you think. They could be your neighbor. They could be, near your job. Hell, they could be somebody like, oh, well, maybe you do some networking. Heck, they could even be, you can even date them if you're single. Hell, who knows? But, I just think that's the connection. It's like I said, that's the connection of just finding that spirit of of college and everything. And plus, with coming with football, not every game, you can't just, it's not just football. It's just kind of the sense of community, talking about what you miss about campus, what you miss about being there. And even, like I said before, networking. If you're looking for a job, if you're looking for a career, you need some help, especially in your location. If you're in a big city or something like that, you talk with your chapter, to find somebody. We can always hook up, because I always get, emails about, hey, I am moving down to Houston. Can anybody help me out with a place to stay, or can I help me out with a job? And I'm like, hey, I'll help you out as much as I can. And that's what we do. We all help out each other. So that's what I think the key things are. It's about community. We're all Penn Staters. We all help each other out. We all want to do the best for us. We all want to see each other succeed. So there's ways to connect. So, we all have this kind of, I'll say family. I won't say not family, but there's a sense of family community with being a Penn Stater. And that's why you should join your chapter, because you never know what that sense of family will bring to you, and what you can bring to your, that'll help, either help your situation out, or even, find a sense of connection for yourself.
Yeah, no doubt, Chad. We just recently spoke with Courtney Jackson, who's the president of our Chicago chapter. And she said when she moved to Chicago, she didn't know anybody. And she went to a chapter meeting. And then next thing you knew, she started connecting with people, got invited to some social events. Now she's the president. And so I think that kind of, reinforces the point that you just made.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, Houston's one of those cities where we get a lot of move-ins. A lot of people come from, just graduated from Penn State, and they come down here to Houston for a job, and, they don't know anybody from Texas. So definitely come on down, come to a watch party. That's where we'll be. If you don't know anybody here, some Penn Staters, me, come on down to the party and introduce yourself. Definitely. That's the first place to go.
FYI, all Penn Staters living in the Houston area, Chad Washington, the president of the chapter, has now personally invited you out. So open invite for everyone.
Open invite. I'll be there on Saturdays. Trust me, I'm not going anywhere, especially this season.
Hey, Chad, appreciate your time here. Just a few more questions. Your path to Penn State. You said you grew up in Houston, came here to Penn State, earned your degree. I believe you've been back in the Houston area now for 15 years, maybe longer. Let's start first with the journey to Penn State. What was it about Penn State that made that the school for you, despite not growing up in Pennsylvania?
Well, it's a two kind of way of looking at it. Number one, even though I grew up here in Texas, I didn't really fall in love with any of the colleges here. I mean, yeah, I rooted for the, University of Houston, Phi Slamma Jamma and everything like that. But, when it, in the Southwest Conference and everything. But when I started looking at, my career and with everything like that, none of them really started to fit me, U of H, Texas A&M. They just didn't really fit where I wanted to go. And plus I wanted to, and there was a thing inside of me that I wanted to go up east. I wanted to go, see what snow was like. We don't really get snow down here in Houston that much. So I wanted to go up east and see kind of a different kind of a way of not necessarily a way of living, but a different way of how America is. So that was one thing that attracted me. And number two, being a college football fan, I knew of Penn. I actually grew up more of a Notre Dame fan. But in those independent days, Notre Dame and Penn State used to play each other a lot, and usually the winner of those games would become national, went on to either contend for a national championship or even win it. And so that kind of linked me to Penn State. And I kind of, obviously with those days of, those days in the 80s where Penn State was winning national titles and contending for them, that obviously turned me on to Penn State. Then it comes to the 90s, the early 90s when I'm looking for college. And I remember going to my college fair and I'm just like, okay, man, I don't know where I want to go. I mean, obviously Notre Dame is out because it's just too dang expensive. Well, I don't really want to go anywhere in Texas, but so where do I go? And then somebody said, hey, Penn State is pretty nice. And he said, hey, you could try and go to Penn State. I'm like, okay, I'll try Penn State. I applied just out of the, curiosity, and they accepted me. And I was just like, oh, right. I'll take it. I'll take Penn State. And it ended up being the best decision I ever made. I took a chance. I went up to campus. I fell in love with the campus. I still love the campus. I went back a couple weeks ago. It was like I never left, even though a lot of buildings have changed, a lot of new things have changed. I still walked around them and it still felt like home again. So I really love the campus. I love the people there. I love everything about it. And it's just kind of carried me to what I'm doing now here in Houston. So that's the one. It's kind of a twofold thing. And it also had a pretty good journalism program, which is something I wanted to get into, especially with sports journalism. So it was, like I said, kind of those three things kind of rolled into one.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful story, Chad. Yeah, I mean, Penn State College of Communications, I think it's got a lot more run after the tremendously generous gift from Donald P. Bellisario has always been a strong program. And you said something I wanted to point out about, you broadened your horizons for college. You said, I didn't want to just, stay in state. And so you took a chance, came here to Penn State. Very happy you did. Can confirm there's never a shortage of snow. So if you wanted to see what snow looks like, you will find out.
Oh, I got my fill. Trust me. I got by senior year, I was like, okay, I think I had enough now.
Yeah, you're taking me back to the days of, somebody posted an article the other day about Penn State rivals, and they had Iowa up high. And I'm like, and Alabama wasn't even on the list. Like, people forget Alabama, Notre Dame, even schools like, Boston College, they used to be on the schedule all the time.
Yeah, that's what I loved about, and I'm also like a big history thing, think about the 80s and the early 90s when Penn State was an independent. And I'm just going back. Notre Dame, I thought, was the game. I remember that was the big game. And then you had Syracuse. I remember Syracuse was supposed to be a rivalry. And of course, obviously Pitt being the main rivalry, but but of course, being in the Big Ten, times have changed, obviously Ohio State and Michigan are the big games, but now Iowa's a rivalry. Well, I mean, obviously there's some, a little bit of animosity with Iowa, we not just in football, but in wrestling, but just take me back a little bit to those days of, in the 80s and 90s where those games just mattered on the schedule and all that. I guess it can be with Ohio State and Michigan. It's just sad that it's just not, well received on the other side, because obviously Ohio State and Michigan are rivals themselves. But man, those Notre Dame Penn State games to me really made me love Penn State more than what I really did, than what I really would understand later in life. That's what really got me going with loving Penn State, was just those games in the 80s through the early 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's continue kind of down this path. And so you graduate from Penn State, you end up back in Houston a few years later. And I think you could have said, hey, I grew up here, I probably know enough people, I know my way around that, I don't need to join a chapter, but yet you still joined the chapter, became the president. What inspired you to get involved, even though you had a different perspective than other people might have had?
Well, I think a lot of that, John, is just, while I'm here in Houston, I have plenty of, friends from around town that obviously don't have any Penn State ties. And, we could talk about the Astros and the Rockets, and we could talk about other things that's going around here. Man, I'm like, it's hard to talk smack about Penn State. And, you can't talk about certain things about Penn State without talking to a Penn Stater about, You can't talk about, you got to hear certain things, and you always want to have that connection with somebody. And I think when I went and joined the chapter, to volunteer, first out, let me explain first. First, I was going to the chapter watch parties, just like as everybody else in the, say, early 2000s. I went to every game, I watched, because we couldn't watch the games here. I had the games were on ABC. I did a local ABC affiliate here. We're showing Big 12 games. I wanted to watch Penn State play, so I had to go to the watch party to watch the games. And that kept on going. I met some people, talked with some people, and I said, maybe I could become a member of the chapter, just, helped out and said, hey, maybe I can help out with their social media. They created a Facebook and a Twitter account. Hey, maybe I can help out with that, give them a little push, give them a little something there, since that's my expertise or and that's how it started, and then it just kept rolling with doing the other things. And then then when we moved to the Phoenix, it's like, well, and I give credit to Anwar. Anwar is like, hey, why don't you play? You got all your fight songs. Why don't you play your fight songs on when we score a touchdown? I'm like, okay. I'm like, fine, I'll go play the fight song on my phone. And I did, and it was kind of cool. And it was, just to get the people's reaction. And then it just kind of snowballed. But I just love the connecting with people. I love seeing people getting, getting excited for everything about Penn State football. But I love just talking with people about everything, just talking to them about football, Penn State basketball, which is another thing I wanted to talk about too. We also had a great watch party from when Penn State basketball made it to the NCAA tournament, and just getting that all organized and getting people excited about that. That's why I kind of wanted to join and really wanted to see people get excited about, and it's still exciting to me now. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, it all worked out, and I'm happy I'm doing this. I'm happy that everybody's kind of connecting here in Houston about it, because we kind of, something that I wanted to keep going, and something that it's a big city. It kind of gets, a lot of alums are in Chicago, a lot of alums are in LA, but hey, Houston has a lot of alums here. We just like to give it a little push and give it a little notice that, hey, we kind of do our little, we have a lot of Penn State pride down here in H-Town. That's what I just wanted to do. And that's how I'll show it out here.
Yeah, shout out H-Town, shout out Penn State Hoops, Mike Rhodes, new coach in Happy Valley.
Yes.
Yeah, we're planning, expecting, hoping that trip to the NCAA tournament, if it doesn't become an annual tradition every other year, it's becoming a regular thing. And so it was, I'm glad that you shared that as an example of things that you're doing year round.
Yeah, I was praying, I was hoping that, hey, I was going to be like, you know what? They could Final Four is coming to Houston, is in Houston. Hey, I was getting ready to make plans, because I was thinking, hey, Jalen Pickett, keep hitting those threes, get us here. Same thing with Andrew Funk, get us here. So that was the other thing too. So, and that's the same thing that I'm feeling right now with our football team. It's like, because the college football playoff national championship came right here in Houston. So I'm not going to say too much. I'm just hoping that things work out well. And like I said, if things work out well, definitely going to be ready to host a nice big party here in January for a lot of Penn Staters. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you've already invited everyone, Chad. So like, if everyone shows.
I'm talking about like a big party. I mean, the Phoenix is great, and we'll definitely have a shindig there, but I'm talking about maybe a little bit bigger kind of thing. Maybe we could get Paul Clifford to, chime in for something like that. Maybe, just saying.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that. We'll work on that later. When we get to January, we'll get on that.
Yeah, we got to and our inner James Franklin. Week 1, West Virginia,
West Virginia, and then Delaware, and then and then Illinois. We'll keep on going.
All right, wait, Chad, have really enjoyed speaking with you. We'll end on a fun question here, or on a meaningful question too. What has the Penn State Alumni Network meant to you?
It's meant a lot, really, because, I mean, on campus, when I was a student, I felt kind of like just one in the crowd a little bit. But now that I've been in this network as, a leader, president, and trying to, do a lot of organizing with the people here in Houston, and going up to campus and talking with everything, I feel like I have a great sense of how, this is such a great feeling to do, to volunteer and do so much to, spread that Penn State pride around. And I thought that, I remember when I was a student, I was like, I'm not going to be that kind of Penn State guy where I'm just like putting on all kinds of Penn State stuff and buying all kinds of Penn State junk and buying all this stuff and putting it in my house. And then I looked in the mirror one day, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm wearing Penn State stuff every day. And that's like, but I don't care anymore. I'm at the point where I don't care. I love my school. I love where I'm at. And I love the people that I deal with. I love the people that I talk with. I love the people that show their Penn State pride. And, and being part of this community and being a part of this network where we're talking with Penn Staters and dealing with everything and working to help make Penn State one of the great universities in the United States is just a great thing. It's a great feeling. And I definitely enjoy it so much. And it's one of those things where it's like, I can't think I wouldn't do this for any other university. I can't think. I mean, I remember I talked about being a fan for Notre Dame. I don't think I could do it for Notre Dame. I don't think I could do it for, U of H or, Texas or Texas A&M. I have this love for Penn State because it's just gotten old of me. And, I love the people that have worked that are there. I love the people that have, created set everything up for me. The past presidents here in this chapter have set everything up for me and have done a great job with that. And I'm happy to keep taking that forward and moving it forward. And I'm happy for, the people that at the Penn State Alumni Association from Paul Clifford on down to help give me the resources to help spread it forward here in Houston and help, everybody else, and even to spread that, wisdom and information to every other chapter around here. I'm just happy to be a part to do it. And I'm just grateful and thankful for the opportunity to do it.
Spoken like a true Penn State champion. Chad Washington, wanted to make sure we gave a shout out to your professional role in Houston. Chad is a digital producer at KIAH-TV, proud College of Communications graduate from Penn State, president of our Houston chapter. Chad Washington, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast. Appreciate everything that you're doing for Penn State.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me on.
All right, take care, Chad. Chad Washington, everyone.
You too.